The mightiest machines on the planet. Big, mean, and invincible. Battling Mother Earth, the modern world couldn't survive without them. In this episode, we come face to face with the largest land-based machines ever built. Bucket wheel excavators.
They're enormous machines. They have a great capacity.
Their only mission is to peel back the surface of the Earth with each turn of their colossal parts.
You could compare this machine to an animal because it eats the rocks.
Whilst under the beating sun, surface miners scale new heights in scooping.
It's really hard work. You get really dirty.
It's time to get behind the wheels of some dirty great machines. Across this extraordinary landscape in northern Greece, some of the world's biggest machines are hard at work, mining a form of coal called lignite. Mining director Olga Kuridou is in charge of all she surveys.
We operate 44 bucket wheel excavators, different sizes, 17 sprinters, 260 kilometers of conveyor belts, and more than 1,000 diesel-powered machinery, different types, dozers, loaders, trucks, etc.
The bucket wheel excavators have two jobs. Some of them remove the lignite at the bottom of the mine, while the others remove a 150-meter layer of topsoil that lies above the coal. And it's up to one of Olga's mechanical engineers, Dr. Ilias to keep them all in top working order.
This specific bucket wheel excavator is the biggest in Greece. It's very rare to work with such big machines, so I feel lucky.
Here we produce 80% of the lignite of the total production of Greece. And from that lignite, it generates 50% of the electricity of the country. It's quite a responsibility. It's quite difficult, I could say. I try to explain them that the light is not coming from the switch, and I always invite them to come here and see how to get electricity in every house.
Every excavator needs to work at full capacity. But lying like a wounded animal, the mine's largest bucket wheel excavator, or BWE, is motionless. Epsilon 1 is a 5,000-ton, 40 million pound monster of mining. But right now she isn't functioning, and Ilias and his team have just 13 days to get her up and running again, or Greece's power supply could be threatened.
Challenges are great because bucket wheel excavators are huge machines with very complex systems. Sometimes even for our best technicians and engineers it's difficult to understand what's going wrong because complexity is combined with size.
So how do they work? The bit that gives this dirty great machine its name is the bucket wheel. A giant rotating disc edged with buckets to scoop up all that gets in the way. The bucket wheel is connected to a boom arm that swings left and right and up and down. It allows the bucket wheel to access a vast area of soil or coal. Conveyor belts inside the boom arm travel down the length of the machine and carry the material away. As the bucket wheel excavates more of the soil, a set of 9 enormous crawler tracks move the machine forward into the slope. And there you have it.
We give our best in a specific period of time to perform as many works it is possible.
Ilias must undertake 3 Herculean repair jobs on Epsilon 1, and the clock is ticking. First, they must replace all 9 huge crawler tracks. Next, the giant gear rim for the boom arm needs to be exchanged with new parts. And finally, the 16-meter bucket wheel itself needs critical repairs. First up, the tracks.
This is one crawler track. Its length is 13 meters and it is 3.2 meters tall. The total weight of the machine, which is 5,250 tons, is supported by 9 crawler tracks.
Replacing the tracks is monumental maintenance. First, the battle-weary old one is disconnected and rolled off. It takes half a day and 6 men for this one job alone. With one track removed, a brand new one is then rolled on and winched into place. This requires the entire day, and it's far more dangerous. With each track weighing 38 tons, the forces involved are astronomical.
This machine is that pulls the wire is very strong, and if anything stuck here, it is very probable for the wire to break.
This work is not for the faint-hearted.
It can rip someone's heads off or make a very big accident. And it happened many times. So the people are very afraid of the wires.
While the track is held under tension, the final link is slotted in, just like connecting a new bicycle chain.
After we close the chain, the crawler, then it will be ready to operate.
To check that the new track is secure, Epsilon 1 is taken for a test drive. One crucial repair job is done, but with just 12 days left, no time can be wasted. All activities in the mine are relayed to a control tower, where the performance of all the machines is closely monitored. But something is wrong.
Ε3 μ' ακούς τη δικιά σου.
Not only is Epsilon 1 not working, but her sister Epsilon 3 has also broken down. So Ilias and his team are now up to their eyeballs with problems.
The machine is stopped, T3.
They're on a war footing to prevent the mine and the Greek economy from imploding.
No lignites, no power for the power plant.
And no power means the lights could go out across the whole of Greece. At a Mintheon mine in Greece, A bucket wheel excavator called Epsilon 3 has had a titanic bout with planet Earth. All 16 of its buckets have collided with boulders the size of small cars. Each of the buckets has 2 teeth, which bite into the soil.
Για να δείτε τη διαφορά. This part of the bucket was broken, and now the tooth cannot be held in place. So if it was working, the tooth would fall from the bucket.
Each bucket weighs 2 tons and has a volume of 4,000 liters, bigger than 40 bathtubs. The damaged teeth on the buckets have to be repaired quickly on the ground.
Sometimes if the damage is very big, some other mechanical engineers we get there, and then we decide all together which is the best way to perform.
With precious little time, the workers have to think on their feet and improvise. This forklift has to double as a workbench whilst a makeshift nail for a bucket tooth is prepared. But Ilias and his team have decided that the damage is so great on 2 of the buckets that they need to be replaced entirely. With each bucket costing £3,500, it's the last resort.
The bucket stays in place with these pins. And this. As you see, people have to work in very difficult conditions.
To get the old ones off, the connecting pins need to be banged out. They're cold pins, but on this giant machine, nothing is small. Three hours later, the last new bucket is lifted into place. And its connecting pins are hammered home. As the workers start to lose the light, Epsilon 3 is ready for operation once more. A new shift team has been instructed to make up for lost time.
He is reporting to the tower that he is ready to start the excavating. Kostas is the main operator of excavator Epsilon 3.
More people have flown fighter jets than have wrangled these steel beasts. And Kostas Sidorinios is one of the most experienced drivers at the mine. His machine is an SR4000 and it defies belief. It weighs over 5,000 tons, heavier than 29 jumbo jets. It's taller than an 18-story block of flats. It would take Usain Bolt 14.94 seconds to run the length of it. That's 156 meters end to end. And it can excavate 11,000 cubic meters of soil an hour, filling the Albert Hall in under half a day. For a machine as big as a ship, it takes just 4 people to work the BWE. There's an operator at the rear of the loading unit who monitors the conveyor belts. Second in command is the coordinator with his apprentice. But the burden falls to Kostas to put in a shift of 12 hours of cool, hard excavating.
Τώρα που θα βάλει πίσω η ταινία, δες, Θα ανάβει σιγά σιγά το κάθε λαπάκι. Εδώ. Τώρα θα βάλει ένα ειδικά μας εδώ πέρα, θα πάει και ο τροχός. Το βαράμε.
His machine is now back to moving mountains.
Κινητήρας κατατροχού 1, κατατροχού 2, κατατροχού 3, είναι 3 κινητήρες. Βλέπεις τι αμπέρ τραβάνε και καταλαβαίνεις και τι φορτία φορτώνεις αναλόγως τελικά. Και αυτό θέμα εμπειρίας. Και χειρότερα όταν έχουμε πέτρα πολύ. Χειρότερα πάει έτσι.
As the bucket wheel excavates, it dumps the soil onto a conveyor belt. 20,000 tons of soil is carried away to land reclamation every hour. Like spotting icebergs at sea, Yorgos, the coordinator, must alert Kostas of any boulders that could damage the machine, as happened earlier in the day. It's incredibly dangerous work.
Imagine that they're working many years on the excavators and they feel the excavators like their homes.
As the night draws on, there's relief as the repaired buckets withstand the huge forces needed to excavate the hillside. Helping provide electricity across the country, the mine never sleeps, so that the Greek people can. Giant machines need giant parts, and there's none bigger or more complex than the gearbox. It's the beating heart of the BWE monster. And in this unassuming building in southern Germany, workers have been building bucket wheel excavators for nearly a century.
If you are lucky like we to have an own workshop, you can touch things you have designed, you can see them working. This challenge is what makes that interesting. So I really like it.
Die Ritzel offen drin und nur so ein kleines Vorschaltgetriebe und war bisher nicht klar.
Factory director Matthias Gnilka has got to oversee the final stages of assembly.
Today is a really important day as we are going to assemble a gearbox for China.
When fully assembled, this gearbox will weigh 42 tons and stand 4 meters high.
They have to ensure that the part keeps hanging horizontally. Otherwise, there's a risk that the shafts would fall out.
Hier drüben auch bitte.
Each part has to mesh perfectly with a precision of just half the width of a human hair. Sitting on the side of the bucket wheel, the gearbox converts the power of the electric motors into tons of cutting force. A 1,250 kilowatt electric motor turns the gears. With a ratio of 200 to 1, around 50 times greater than first gear on your car, the motor needs to turn 200 times to achieve just one revolution of the bucket wheel. This converts power into enormous cutting force, enough to lift and flip a battle tank.
100 years ago, they started with small excavators, removing small amounts of soil. And then over time, the development led to bigger and bigger machines.
Job done.
It's a good thing to see that everything fits well.
Before the top case hides the inner workings forever, the gearbox is tested to check it's working perfectly. You'd never associate these monster machines with beauty, but just this once, our wunderkinds of engineering have produced something rather lovely.
For me, it is important that a factory like this has to reinvent itself every 10 years, I think, just to adapt to the global development, to the changing economy.
I think we Germans do not tend to be proud of achievements.
The Germans should be proud. 40 miles northeast of the factory, in an enormous coal mine, a rogues gallery of German mining monsters are on display. Not only is there a bucket wheel excavator, its gearbox turning the bucket wheel against the soil slope, but there are also their close cousins. Bucket chain excavators. Bucket chain excavators scoop the layer of topsoil that lies above the coal, and in a single hour they can remove 2 Olympic-sized swimming pools of soil from the hillside. The excavated soil is then taken half a kilometer away via another giant machine called a conveyor bridge. They have been nicknamed lying Eiffels, but if they stood up, they would actually be 180 meters higher than the real Eiffel Tower. Working day and night and all year round, these machines use a vast amount of power. While they require 27,000 kilowatts of electricity, the same amount as a city the size of Bath, they provide enough coal to power a city 50 times larger. These machines are the zenith of industrial engineering. Mobile cathedrals of awe-inspiring scale and efficiency. Germany remains at the cutting edge of mining. But in recent years, a new kid at the mine face has emerged on the far side of the planet. In the Martian landscape of Western Australia, these machines have to survive in one of the most hostile environments on Earth.
It's arguably the hottest place to work in the world. Flies are bad, the dust is terrible, the wind is hot.
In Western Australia, beneath the scorching sun of the outback, there is a mine so remote that it even has its own airport.
It's arguably the hottest place to work in the world, looking at 55 to 56 degrees. Flies are bad, the dust is terrible, the wind is hot.
Workers are flown in and out on an 8-day rotation to a strange land where the machines are king. Humans pander to their every need, with a 21st century control room, simulators to train new drivers,
Belts are on.
and an emergency service on permanent standby. Headley Quick is the man the machines go to for maintenance.
So Cloudbreak Mine has an average of about 1,500 to 1,600 people on site at any one time. We have over 160 pieces of machinery, and we budgeted to do 45 million tons per year of ore exported.
An iron ore mine. Business here is booming. The Chinese can't get enough of the red rock for the steel that makes their soaring skyscrapers. And one dirty great machine is satisfying their demand. It's called the 4200 Surface Miner. £5 million worth of high-tech Teutonic mining mastery. and so called because its cutting drum is 4,200 centimeters wide. Such is its power, it can excavate a cruise ship's worth of metal every day. At the start of each shift, Headley briefs his team.
Welcome guys back to another shift. Hope you all slept well. Today is focus on safety, especially when we're out in Brampton today, where we'll be doing quite a bit of work on the 4200s. Right guys, let's have a safe and productive day and take care of each other out there. Thanks. So the 4200 is a highly advanced piece of machinery. It's a digital machine in a digital age that we use. In contrast to a conventional bucket wheel, the technology is light years ahead.
And it's down to skilled drivers like ex-farmer Wazza to ride these metal mammoths day and night.
To tell the truth, it's nothing like what I've ever driven before. It is good fun though, once you get the hang of it. It's hard to describe, but yeah, it's nothing like driving a car or a tractor or anything like that back home.
So what makes it tick? Its most important component is a cutting drum in the center of the machine, studded with steel carbide picks. As the drum turns, the picks bite into the ground beneath, excavating iron ore. The ore is thrown back onto a conveyor inside the machine and out onto a boom arm. The boom can be raised or lowered and swung round 90 degrees to fill waiting dump trucks. Add 4 tracks, which can all steer, a swiveling cab and driver's seat, and you have a recipe for surface mining success.
I'm trying to run straight as possible along the cut that I'm cutting along. I've got buttons on the top of the joystick here that stop the conveyor and start the conveyor. Over this side, this joystick doesn't move, but it's got a trigger on it, and that makes the surface miner go up and down. And we've got a screen here that tells us how deep we're cutting with our side plates. So at the moment I'm cutting 300, 30 centimetres, which is pretty much perfect, what they want.
Just like a combine harvester in a wheat field, as it removes the iron ore from the ground, a line of attending dump trucks wait to be filled up.
I like to always have one behind you, so you've always got another truck to come straight underneath.
Each dump truck can take a load of 175 tons of iron ore, and the 4200 is so efficient it takes less than 3 minutes to fill the truck. You couldn't fill a bath in that time. But that's not the only impressive thing about this machine. It weighs 211 tons, heavier than 4 battle tanks. At just over 30 meters end to end, it's longer than 3 double-deckers. It can remove 2,400 cubic meters of iron ore an hour. That's like removing a football pitch 30 centimeters deep. And it costs £5 million, enough to buy a 3-bedroom house in London's Mayfair with a garden. Surface miners are tough, but they're not bulletproof.
The biggest challenges that we encounter here with the ore body is probably the hardness of the ground, and our machines really battle to get through it.
Copy mine control, service miner 26.
Service miner 26, go ahead.
Yeah, Ollie, would you be able to get pit crew to come out to service miner 26, please?
Copy that. Copy the Brampton pit crew for mine control maintenance.
Like the least hygienic ambulance crew ever, Erica and Randolph get the emergency call.
Brampton pit crew receiving.
Smooth 26 in Brampton strip 17 requires a big change, please.
Roger, on our way.
If a surface miner is down for just 1 hour, it costs 100 grand in lost earnings. So emergency pick crew Erica and Randolph need to replace Waz's worn-out picks ASAP.
The pick crew have probably got one of the hardest jobs on the mine because they work in extreme conditions. These guys do a lot of physical labor, probably the worst job on the mine.
But tough jobs pay top dollar. Erica should know. As a former air hostess, her radical career change brought her down to earth, but tripled her pay.
What happens is they wear down. The drum spins around and picks up the dirt. It flicks the dirt to the back of the drum. And because of the hard ground, it'll wear the picks down. The drum won't function properly, so this is a new one. This is an old one. There's a lip here, and once the lip wears down like this, then this hard part inside the pick can fall out. That's the hardest part, which is chewing up the ground.
Each of the steel carbide picks costs 40 pounds, and they are specially designed to tear apart the rock. But sometimes Mother Nature fights back.
Depending on what ground you're in one pit you could be changing every 5 metres, which is probably about a 20-minute job, and you're doing about 30 or 40 picks maybe. It's really hard work. You get really dirty and get really strong arms, which is pretty cool, so yeah.
10 minutes and 18 picks later, the 4200 is back in action. But with a shortage of skilled drivers, the company needs to train a fresh set of recruits.
The skill level to operate a 4200 surface miner is quite intense. There's an extensive program that you have to be passed out in order to operate this.
Trainee driver Christian Wenk has spent the last year learning the ropes in a state-of-the-art simulator.
I think there might be a little bit of nerves with thinking about what's to come, because it is such a big machine. You know, you're basically in charge of the safety of the people that work around you. So as far as the safety aspects, it is quite daunting. But I'm looking forward to the challenge, and it's a pretty cool machine when you look at it.
Today, Christian is about to find out if he's got what it takes to become a 4200 driver. At 5 million quid, training to drive these giants is intense. Any damage could cost tens of thousands of pounds to repair.
Rear struts, make sure they're intact. Is anything caught in there?
Yeah.
Like pre-flight checks on a plane, Christian first shows instructor Duncan Gemmell that he knows his way around the real machine.
Never walk under the boom because it's a suspended load.
Yep. Anything that falls on your head, it's going to hurt you.
Yeah.
It's all big.
Duncan is satisfied that Christian is ready to take the reins.
This is your big moment, Christian. It's all up to you now. You go show us what we've taught you. Full faith in you.
Thank you.
All the best. Get loading that truck, and yeah, just remember, take it steady, steady.
DT 76, you're going to have zone 20.
With the beady eye of Duncan trained on him, one wrong move and it's back to driver school.
Raise that boom up a fraction, please, mate. It's just getting a bit close to that truck. Okay, Christian, you just need to make sure you keep that steady on the forward speed.
Has he done enough to convince Duncan he's ready for the top flight? Christian doesn't look so sure.
Copy.
Well done, Christian. You did a really good job there.
Cheers.
It's looking good for Christian and his new career.
Cheers. No, it was a lot of fun. Thanks for that.
But there's one sign it wasn't a cakewalk.
Sweaty palms.
Yeah.
Soon, Christian will join Waza on the Iron Road. The 4200 is a revelation. Mining the ore we need to produce the steel that makes our cars, skyscrapers, and bucket wheel excavators. Back at a Minthian mine, the Greeks are racing against the clock to get the largest land-based machine in the country back on its feet. It's epic maintenance, but one of the smallest jobs is causing the biggest headache.
They're trying to remove the small gear wheel and it's stuck.
Ilias is now under huge pressure to find a solution fast. In Greece, with the broken buckets fixed on her sister excavator, Epsilon 1 needs urgent repairs on the wheel itself. So the buckets have been removed to allow critical welding to be carried out. If these repairs are not completed within 12 days, the coal supply to local power stations could be cut off.
This is in contact with raw material 24 hours a day. The conditions that it operates are very hard.
Despite being made of hardened steel, the wheel is riddled with cracks.
We'll have to perform a full rotation of the bucket wheel to spot all the cracks and to repair every crack. So it takes 2 or 4 welders to work simultaneously for days.
The normal way is to spin the bucket wheel slowly. If you want to do this, you must have electric power. At the moment, we do not have power because they are performing some other operations.
Power to the entire machine has been cut off to allow the electricians to do their own repairs. But the bucket wheel weighs a staggering 80 tons and can't be taken to a workshop. Ilias and his team need to improvise on the ground. So it falls to the comparatively small forklift to get the mighty bucket wheel moving again. With the bucket wheel turned manually, the welders return to their vital operation. But on the main body of the machine, one of the smallest jobs can't be fixed with the brute strength of a forklift truck.
The motor is connected to this pinion, the small gear, and which rotates this large gear rim. They're trying to remove the small gear wheel and it is stuck.
Called a pinion wheel or gear, it turns the giant boom arm from side to side. It's in operation here on sister bucket wheel excavator Epsilon 3. Short on time and money, the mine and the country depend on Epsilon 1's return to operation. So Ilias needs to pool his resources and find a way to remove it.
Imagine that the excavator does not come to us with a book saying in every occasion what you should do. But for everything else, we must use our experience and the principles of engineering.
Heating it should expand the metal and make it pop out.
The first attempt was not successful, and that's why we will heat more and press again with pump.
Forcing the gear wheel off using a hydraulic jack is another solution. But that's also failing to do the job.
Sometimes when things happen that you unpredicted things, then it's a bit stressful.
The stress of the job can't get the better of him. He's asked for some specialist kit to be brought in. The largest hydraulic jack on site.
Now he's hitting again with a hammer to shock it and...
With machines this big, it's all about thinking laterally and using what you've got. The jack can lift 80 tons, enough to force 60 family cars into the sky.
You can see the cylinder is much bigger, so the force will be much higher. Okay, it's moving. It's out. It just needed more power. The crucial factor was the bigger cylinder. Gave us a hard time, but it's a small win.
Through ingenuity and pure hard work, Ilias and his maintenance team are back on track.
This is another example that people must find the solution right here without having much time to plan or design. Okay, they find a problem in front of them and they must find also the solution immediately.
But tensions are rising. The repair window is coming to a close.
Now that we're stopped for maintenance, after that there will be no excuse if we forget something and the machine has to stop again.
Three months later, and the temperature has plunged to -10. Have the repairs on Epsilon 1 managed to last the winter? Far in the distance, a giant machine is moving. Its 16-meter bucket wheel is rotating. The 50-meter boom is swinging. And its 9 new crawler tracks are driving forward. Epsilon 1 is back in action.
We managed to perform difficult tasks at very difficult conditions in a short time. Even in times that no one expects us to succeed. I feel very proud to see that the machine is working perfectly. We are lucky to be here. This is what it's all about.
Monsters of mining, tucked away in landscapes of their own devising, are the machines that provide power to our cities and the steel for our buildings. The men and women who wrangle these steel beasts are unsung heroes, securing our way of life in the harshest environments on the planet. So spare a thought for these engineering marvels next time you charge your phone. Thank you, Dirty Great Machines.